So this morning I'm joined by Irish cricket player Barry McCarthy. So Barry, it'd be remiss of me to not ask how you were keeping and how you were getting on in the current times in COVID. So how are you?
I'm actually not too bad. A little bit fed up at the moment, to be honest. Lockdown 1 and 2 weren't too bad. Busy enough, just back from the UAE. So it's a little bit different now. I'm in 2 weeks isolation. So yeah, I'm not really missing out on much by the looks of it out the window. But yeah, it seems like we could be looking at a bit of a longer period on the sideline, as you'd say, than was first thought with the vaccine. But look, hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Just before we get on to your recent trip to the UAE there, just bring it back a little bit. So cricket, where did your love for the sport, I suppose, stem from? Did you grow up playing it? Was it in your family, or was it just something that you kind of took to yourself?
No, certainly when I got into the game, it was very much anyone who played. It was fairly family orientated. My dad played the game down in Pembroke Cricket Club and brought me down from a young age, myself, my brother and my sister. And everyone else who was there, who was in around my age, was involved in the sport through family reasons, and still are in Pembroke. We've built quite a good culture there, and it's nice that we're still playing now in the men's senior first team with guys I played with growing up. So it's nice to have that sort of connection. But yeah, when I was growing up, it was all, as I said, it was all family orientated. But now it seems to be growing into schools and stuff, which is great to see. And hopefully we can build a big cricket community in this country.
So I suppose starting off, you say you went down to Pembroke. How was it kind of, I know now it's Pembroke and you go into sort of set up and then, it's into an Irish sort of thing. Was it the same sort of system when you were going about trying to further your career in the sport, or what was your kind of pathway into the international setup?
Yeah, cricket in Ireland's quite a small community, so you kind of know who you're up against and stuff like that. The Leinster underage system, I have to say, was brilliant for bringing the talent that's there now in the Irish senior team, but still it's the same sort of system still there for the underage kids, and I was a part of that back in the day, going Leinster under 11s up the trips up to Armagh to get those couple of games. That was always something that when you're growing up with that underage 10 or 11, you really wanted to get on that bus up to Armagh, and I was fortunate enough to do that twice. And then the next phase was sort of getting into the Leinster under 13s, Irish under 13s. I actually didn't make either of those teams, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't make either of those teams, to be honest. So I sort of was sort of back in the pecking order then. But I think sort of having that sort of, like I said before, that family community, the friendship, and enjoying going down to Pembroke during the summer, I just loved it, stuck with it. And then came under 15s, I was sort of back in the frame. So you sort of take it at those sort of leaps. It's still there. As far as I'm aware, it's still the same system growing up now. You have your under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, under 17s, and then the Irish under 19s, which is the pathway up to all the underage cricket. And then beyond that, you have the Ireland A team, which is the Wolves team, and into the senior team now. And yeah, I'd have to say I was a product of that. Probably went a little bit differently, spending some time in England in between the Under 19s World Cup and making my debut in 2016. But apart from that, that's sort of how the system in cricket works in Ireland. You work your way up, you know who you're up against, and it's trying to play in all those underage levels.
And just to touch on there, I think you mentioned, you went over to England to play, and you played with Durham for, was it 2 seasons?
4 seasons, sorry.
Oh, was it 2 years? Yeah, so how did that kind of come around, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, great experience. Sort of came out of the blue, to be honest. Growing up, to me, it was always seeing Ireland beat Pakistan in 2007, and I was wanting to put on the green jersey. That was the real so icing on the cake, and what you wanted to get to was, geez, I want to be part of that Irish team playing at the international level. And then seeing the guys do it again in 2011, that really put the fire in the belly to go on and play for Ireland again. And then I think it was 2 years after that, just netballing in Malahide, Ben Stokes approached me and asked me if I was interested in going playing cricket in England, which is something that I'd never really considered. But the opportunity came, and I went over the following summer, and 4 great seasons over there. I was able to play with some amazing people at an amazing club, learn a lot. I have to say it was really a great time for me to go over and work on my game. And off the back of that, I got my first Irish cap, and now I'm back here, playing full time as a Test nation, and hopefully a couple of big years ahead.
And did you find, going over there for the 4 seasons, when you came back then, and obviously you say you got your first cap, did you find, those years kind of beneficial to develop your own sort of skills and things to bring back then to the Irish setup?
Yeah, I think it came at a really good time for me, in the sense that I was a young lad who just needed to play cricket and learn the game, learn it for myself. And that's something that in the county setup you do. You play Monday to Thursday, and then you play club cricket on a Saturday, and you do that for weeks and weeks and weeks throughout the summer. And you've good days, you've bad days, but there's always a game around the corner. And it's one of those, playing the longer form of cricket, I've always said, is a good way of developing your skills and working things out for yourself. And that's what I did. I did 4 seasons of that, and it was great. And the interprovincial system here really is growing, and it's bridging that gap from club cricket to the Wolves and then on to international cricket. But the amount of cricket the guys are playing probably isn't at the same level as it is in England. So I have to say I did benefit from that, going over to England, playing a lot of cricket. Coming back here is a bit of a transition. You're not playing as much cricket. You're probably doing a little bit more training, which is something I had to manage. But I have to say it was a great learning experience for me. And coming back, I felt I was a better cricketer for it.
And just on the training there, when you mention it, so you're obviously fast bowler, right arm medium, whatever the correct term is for it. But not to get too technical, but what sort of, I suppose, what would your kind of training methodology be, for your kind of, to treat your specific sort of needs to get the best out of yourself?
Yeah, at the moment, I haven't had the greatest luck in the last number of years with injuries, so it's probably more so focusing on just injury prevention at the moment. I'm working hard in the gym, just trying to strength conditioning. We've got a new strength and conditioning coach on board here. It's brilliant. We're lucky enough to have the facilities out in Blanchardstown, the High Performance Centre out in Sport Ireland. I know it's difficult, people who haven't got the gym, and that's why we feel it's a luxury for us to be able to use it. So it's certainly a good time to make the most of it. For me, it's focusing on just trying to stay strong, stay fit, and then obviously with the amount of workloads you get, you have to build up for international cricket. It's about slowly progressing up to be able to take those workloads. Whether it's starting off, we went away there, and it was a matter of slowly building up baby steps to get to that 10 over block that you'd have to be bowling in the game. So it's sort of being able to walk before you can run, that sort of stuff. But technical wise, just a couple of technical stuff working on, just trying to stay balanced to the crease and get the ball down there as fast as I can, which isn't quite as fast as I'd like at the moment.
And then I think we touched on just previously there, cricket, in Ireland, it's kind of known, it is quite a minority sort of sport. But I kind of find, fans within cricket, when Ireland are playing, they really seem to do, get behind the team and all you guys. What is it like, I suppose, standing out on the pitch? Now, obviously, when spectators, of course, could go to the matches, but, even on tour, I suppose, not even on home soil. But when you go away, you see that sea of green and the atmosphere, and all the guys just behind you lot. What I can't really imagine, what that feeling must be, to represent your country.
Yeah, no, it certainly is a great feeling, and it's something that we've all worked hard for to get to that level. Sometimes you're in the spotlight, and it can be for better or worse. Sometimes when it's going your way, it's great, and when it's not, it can be a difficult situation. There's a lot of people who sit behind a computer and have a lot to say when things aren't going great, but they're quite quiet when things are going well. But yeah, no, we're privileged here as Irish people to have a community, not just in cricket. Yes, cricket's it's great when we're playing cricket and everyone gets behind us. But a great example was the women's hockey was a great example of how the whole country got behind them, and what an amazing sort of community we built. And I personally don't know much about hockey and stuff, but certainly something I went to do was to go, because as being a sports person and playing cricket, I really do relish when people get behind me as a sports person. I made sure that I sat down at the TV and watched them, because I know how hard they've worked, and they're also in the gym with us in Blanchardstown, and we see how hard they work. So they're great, and I hope they go the whole way at the Olympics. It would be a difficult ask for them now, but they're a great side, and it just shows the Irish people that they get behind their country. And I certainly do when we're playing football and whenever we're playing rugby in the Six Nations, whether we're going all out or we're struggling against it, like we have been more so than not in the football and probably the rugby of late as well. But no, it's great to have that the community behind us.
And just, I suppose, to touch now on more recent times for yourself, you're just back from the UAE. What was that kind of experience like under the whole COVID thing? As in there was probably a lot of changes. What was it? Kind of a few differences.
Yeah, certainly a lot of COVID tests. Anyway, that was one. I think we had about 12 tests in a month, which was. It was a lot, and they don't get any easier, I'll tell you that much. But no, it was certainly nice to get away and play some cricket. We've been to the UAE and to Dubai a number of times. I was there last year for the World Cup qualifiers. I think it was probably my 5th or 6th time being there, but it was certainly a different experience. Walking around with trackers on you, stuff like that. Single rooms, we have that now at the moment. What else was a little bit different? Just sort of the space. You felt sometimes that you had to really. If you hit a ball out of the net or out of the ground and nobody else was allowed to touch it from anyone outside of your own bubble, which was our Cricket Ireland team. It was certainly it had its challenges, but it's one of those things. We were privileged enough to be out there and playing cricket and doing what we love, but we could have moaned and said, look, it wasn't ideal. We weren't able to go out to these nice restaurants and stuff, this, that, and the other. But no, it was certainly great to be out there playing cricket, especially when we were reading some of the stuff that was going on back here and some of the case numbers that were over there. We certainly felt privileged.
And then when, leading up to a tour like that, when would you have kind of started, your preparation for that? Would it have been last summer, or was it kind of coming into the autumn?
So what we did was we had those England games, and then we had a full summer. So we finished mid-September. Towards the end of September, I think it was the season over here finished, and then we were given a couple of weeks off. And then it was the start of November. We got back training. It was a couple of weeks of gym specific stuff only, and then it was back out into the ice box in North County for some cricket skills training. And for me, it was a bit different for everyone, batters and bowlers wise. Bowlers, you're looking at 6 or 7 weeks, 8 weeks away from getting on a plane away to the UAE. But sorry, first and foremost, there was talks of potentially having a tour to South Africa in December. So when we came back in November, we sort of had 4 weeks to get ready for getting over and playing some cricket. So you need to make sure your workloads are up. So I think for someone like me, I made sure I bowled 3 times a week, 6 overs a day, for example. So I made sure I got 18 heavy overs in a week, and slowly progressed that up. So that when you do go over training, when you go on a tour to somewhere like the UAE or to somewhere to South Africa, you could be bowling upwards of 35 overs in a week. So it's important that you don't just jump straight into the deep end and start bowling 35 overs, because that's when injuries come apart. And I'm certainly aware of injuries in the sport. So slow getting back into November was just about slowly building up the workloads and getting ready, so when we get on the plane and get out to places like the UAE, like we just did, that we're ready to hit the ground running. Because I think it was 8 days in between training and our first game. It's not about trying to build it up anymore. It's about trying to hit the ground running when you get out there.
And of course, then as a team, you all spend a lot of time with each other. So is there a good kind of camaraderie with you all? And it's kind of like, I had Shane Byrne on yesterday and asked him a similar question. He said it's nearly kind of like we're all brothers, that sort of thing. Yeah,
you certainly are. And like we all know, brothers do have arguments at the same time as well. But I think one thing, having the single room sort of gave your own space away from guys, and not being allowed into other guys' rooms was probably another element, probably a good element, because you were able to meet guys downstairs for a coffee outside in our communal area that we had. But you're also able to get away from that space, where sometimes you can sort of be living in each other's pockets a little bit too much. And I remember back in the day when you'd go to places and it'd rain for a couple of days and you wouldn't be able to leave the hotel, and you're literally living beside the guy next to you who's sleeping beside you, and small stuff like leaving a pair of socks on the ground can really irritate you. So it was nice to have that single room and a bit of space. But yeah, certainly when push comes to shove, it's nice to know that you, like you said, you've got that family of brothers around you, and you know everyone's fighting in your corner.
And then I suppose looking ahead now to 2021, hopefully with COVID, you can get some sort of a season in. What sort of aspirations would you have for this year in the international kind of setup looking ahead?
Personally, you know, I'd like to cement my place in the side in all three formats. Well, all two formats and the one test we're lined to play this year. It'd be nice to get a test cap at the end of the year to top off what would hopefully be a good year for myself. But yeah, I'd have to say, personally, would be cementing my place in the side, and second of all, and most importantly, would be, you know, gathering some points in this World Super League that we're playing in at the moment. You know, we've 10 points from 6 games at the moment. We would like to be sitting here with a little bit more. Obviously, could be a bit different if we had played a little bit better as a unit over in the UAE, but it's not to be. But it's, you know, it's onwards towards the next series in the Netherlands in May. So it'd be nice to start climbing that ladder in the World Super League, and you know, T20 World Cup at the end, towards the end of the year as well. It'd be nice to be on the plane for that. And you know, most importantly, if we can win games as the Irish cricket team, it'll build a bigger community amongst the sport in the country. Like I said, we're a great nation for getting behind our sporting teams, and you know, it'd be nice to get a lot more people familiar with the sport in the country.
Well, the very best of luck for the year ahead, Barry, and hopefully you get that all important first cap as a test player. So best of luck and stay safe and well, and hopefully see you soon.
Hi, thanks very much. Thank you.